Infinity and beyond. Disney Pixar's brand new movie Lightyear hits theaters this Friday. Turns out a native San Diegan played a big part behind the scenes, bringing the story of Buzz Lightyear to life on the big screen. Derek Thompson is a story artist, and he joins us right here on The Four. First of all, Derek, welcome to The Four. Glad you're here.
Hi, Heather. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to see you today.
Glad to be on The Four with you. Wanted to ask you first, for folks who are not familiar with what a story artist does, what is it that you do?
Well, story artists, we work very closely with the director and the writer, typically before a film is produced, and we essentially draw the movie in shots over and over and over again for years. We essentially provide a visual blueprint. Imagine if a film is like a house, you need to have a blueprint and a plan for your contractors and your architects. Story artists help the director build that blueprint.
You just mentioned that it takes you years. So your role with this particular film, Lightyear, how long have you been working on this film for us to be able to see it in theaters this Friday?
Well, I worked on Lightyear for 3.5 years.
Oh.
I wrapped last year, but almost the length of time it takes somebody to get a college degree. So it was a long haul.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much work especially goes into these fantastic animated films. How did you get into animation and drawing and all that stuff? Is it something that even you started when you were a child?
Very much so. I grew up loving monsters and movies. Star Wars came out when I was 5. I loved comic books. And growing up in San Diego, I started going to the San Diego Comic-Con in the 70s and went there as a fan for years before I got my first professional work as a comic book artist in the early 90s. And that passion for movies and comics and monsters and robots carried me through a whole career. All the way up to Pixar.
So when I think of all the technology that we have now, Derek, when you sit down to work on a film like Lightyear, are you in front of a computer or do you literally have a piece of paper and some pencils in front of you? Where does this start?
It's both for me. I do have a computer. This is my Cintiq, my drawing board, where I produce digital drawings. But I really love working with basic tools. I actually use ballpoint pen, like the kind you buy in a drugstore, plastic ballpoint pen, and I'll often plan and draw and sort of thumbnail my ideas on paper or on script pages. And then when I'm developing my scene, we work in the computer and digitally.
This is so interesting. So give us a little taste of what we can expect with this movie. No spoilers, but what is something kind of interesting that we learn about Buzz Lightyear?
Well, it's definitely a complicated space adventure. We learn a lot about Buzz and the challenges he faces moving through time and space and in his relationships, and also how he overcomes and faces obstacles from the planet itself to giant robots, which I have to say I really enjoyed drawing on this project.
Okay, so is there a particular scene that when we see the movie we can say, hey, I know who drew that? Which scene is that for you, Derek?
Well, you may have seen a few clips from the clip that you showed, but I did storyboards on a whole bunch of the scenes involving Zurg, the giant robot. So there's a huge number of Zurg scenes, and I would often get Zurg material. I just had a way of drawing him that the director liked, and so pay attention to the Zurg material especially, and that's where my biggest contribution came through.
Very cool. Hey, thank you so much for your contribution to the world of film, something that we can bring the whole family to. Again, it's coming out on Friday. Derek Thompson, native San Diegan and story artist for Disney Pixar. Derek, thanks.
Thanks, Heather. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too.